technology for us is just a tool to make customer happy. So at the end of the day, we are close to customers. Our solution are customized, looking at the customer need and not just, out of the box, general purpose technology.
There are a lot of research related to disengagement, to burnout. Last week was released also the latest DORA research related exactly to apply AI in software development. And what finally is emerging from multiple point of view, for multiple studies, from multiple voices, that job satisfaction is a key component of organizational performance. Company needs to be customer-centric, not only selling products and getting revenue and getting good shares in the NASDAQ or in the Fortune 500, but they need to create this feeling that the customer is somebody, is not a number into their ledger.
Yeah, that's definitely very important.
Ethical business and human-centric organization, when they are obsessed of customer satisfaction, they can get the data that a normal corporation they cannot get from the field. And then bringing that into the company with behavioral OKRs to drive ethics organization. The question that I've raised to a lot of organizations is simple. Are your fellows ready to code in the AI era? And what we have discovered is that the companies that are not ready to use it, because the people, they are not capable to use these products in the right way. The biggest problem on software industry is the gap between the academic journey that a student does until getting the bachelor degree, and then the leap to the real market. Because from what we observe, these students, they are not ready.
Well, there is always a gap between universities and the real world.
Hello, digital warriors, and welcome back to the Forge of Unicorn podcast. Today, we are in another glorious episode of the mini-series In the Head of a CEO. And the CEO with us is Pier Giorgio Vittori. Pier Giorgio is not only the CEO of one company, but the CEO of two companies, because Pier Giorgio is the CEO of Spitch.AI US and Spitch.AI Italy. And without further ado, let me salute Pier Giorgio. Pier Giorgio, welcome here.
Yeah, good morning, Michele. Thanks for inviting me here.
It's a pleasure, Pier Giorgio, and I'm really excited. Let me put immediately a disclaimer. I say that you are the CEO of Spitch.AI, so a lot of people will understand or will think perhaps, okay, it's a new company. So Spitch.AI is something that is older than the actual hype around AI. But can you tell the listener what is Spitch.AI, which is the technology that you master, and why you are leading a company that is the perfect example of David versus Goliath?
Sure, I will be happy to. So Spitch was founded about 11 years ago, November 2014. It was actually a group of visionary people, 5 founders. All of them work today in the company after 10 years. They were in strict collaboration with the Polytechnic of Zurich, companies based out of Zurich. And since then, expanded globally, opening offices in Italy, where I'm responsible for, in the UK, and the US, and then we have a team actually spreads across Europe, Eastern Europe, UK, US, and so on and so forth. So the company started from a tiny Switzerland and grew internationally. Spitch has been, working since the beginning in what today we call AI technologies, basically putting the fundamentals to this growing business regarding the artificial intelligence, which was actually born before, but at that time there was no many installations in the market, even though I'm coming from a long experience in this sector, having joined different company even before Spitch, that actually deal with the basic artificial intelligence. That time was speech recognition, transcriptions, natural language understanding, and moving on to the generative AI of today. Spitch.AI was founded 2016, so 2 years after, or less than 2 years after it. And I joined actually Spitch in 2017, coming from experience with other companies, small or big company in the same sector. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was looking to understand with you why I told that it's a competition, David versus Goliath, because Speech is not a gigantic company, but your technology is something that a lot of people, they prefer instead of big giants out there. So what is your secret around this?
Yeah, so basically it's when you look at artificial intelligence, there is a lot of hype in the market, and a lot of you can imagine big players, large company, they sell out of the boxes solutions around the globe, and of course, a very company with a lot of money, company a lot of investment, a lot of power, I would say. But what is the difference? Why a smaller company like Speech can excel like many other smaller companies? Simply because we don't, technology for us is just a tool to make customer happy. So at the end of the day, we are close to customers. Our solution are customized, looking at the customer needs and not just, out of the box, general purpose technology, but we actually combine technology to prepare a solution which is customized for the customer. When I mean customized, we develop even modules which are needed for that specific customers, not necessarily for other customers. So we are close to the customer from day one, from the sales process, pre-sales process. We are guide the customer addressing the current need. We show how technology can support there, but we keep working with that customer as it will be a part of our family or part of our partner. That means that we guide, we customize. They see value. They see that we are there with them, for them, and we develop stuff, we customize stuff, we listen to them. And that is, I think, the main differentiator between a smaller local company rather than a global giant that basically is interested in a mass market, not is interested in making a specific customer app. As a matter of fact, if you look, for example, in Italy or in Europe, there are different regulations compared to other countries in the world. And that means that, you have to comply with this regulation. And Italy, again, has the other regulation that maybe other European countries, they don't have. So big company, they develop a solution which should apply to everybody. They don't, pay attention to a single specific country need or customer need, because some customer may require a different kind of compliance, for example, script, or different kind of flow in the dialogue, because the end users are different from somebody else. So basically, we do different type of customization. We do first language customization. So we do develop language of the country, not just using language and try to translate the language. We build the language using material from that country. We take into account all the dialects. If you look at, for example, Switzerland, a small country, but they are three national languages. I would say 3+1 because there are 4 actually community. But then even looking at the German part of Switzerland, they have a Swiss German, which is an oral language. It's not a written language. It's different from High German. Most of the company, they have High German. They try to adapt. We build the Swiss German from Switzerland. And then Swiss German, Switzerland, there are 26 counties, and most of them are German. Every of these German counties is a different dialect in Swiss German. Being oral language, the dialects are huge, or different. So we adapt our engine for every single dialect of Swiss German. Our engine is robust for this. It's the same when we do for Italy, we take into account all the inflection dialects coming for everybody. So somebody coming from one region, the other region of Italy, our system is ready to understand what the person is asking, extract the information, and serve that customer. And then I think it's part of the customization. That's country level, language level. We do industry level. So our engines are trained for banking industry. Imagine in Switzerland, the banking sector is one of maybe of the 2 major ones after pharma and banking. And we did for utility, we did for GDO, we did for e-commerce, we did basically for every different kind of sectors. And that's another customization where you include your engine specific vocabulary, which are specific for those segments. And then we do another extra customization because a bank is different from another bank. A utility is different from another utility. So we go another one. And then after that, you go, every customer asks for project specific customization to be made. So that is also a key value, because when at the end of the day, technology should serve the customer. The customer has an objective to achieve. It can be cost reduction, it can be customer experience, improving CSAT, sentiment time, whatever it is. Customer has specific need. Technology serves to support a need, to address the need, and to make it possible. That is the difference. When they test us and they test our giants, I mean, they don't just say, okay, I choose one because it's known more than others, but they test and they realize with our technology can be adapted because it's modular. It can actually even, once it's delivered, the customer can use it, touch it himself, be independent if they want. And they see the flexibility of doing that one because it's been built on the purpose rather than big one. If you have to make an adaptation, good luck, because it's the size of the customer in every guy. It should be a lot of cost. It should be put in a roadmap. You don't control the roadmap. So there's a lot of disadvantage using a big company rather than a smaller one when it comes to having perfect solution for you as your customer. And that I think is one of the key value between company which are more on the market, more listening to customer, a different size compared to the big one. I used to work for a big company as well. I mean, I was using the same sector for a big company, one of the biggest in my past. And then you see the difference. A lot of processes internal. There's a lot of bureaucracy. There is a lot of structure. There is a lot of discussions. And again, even though you bring a big customers, it's never big enough to direct the roadmap in one way or the other way because the company is so big that everything is more complicated. Again, they have money, but the money should be, conveyed in the right direction, not just spend money here and there, right? And this is kind of place at least, I mean, people like me want to be, right? Also from the personal perspective, having the experience from both type of companies, the big and the small one. And if I look at in the smaller one, I mean, Spitch is a medium company from that perspective. You have, you can drive changes. I mean, everybody counts. You listen to everybody. There is no bigger hierarchy there. So you can actually discuss, you can work together, you can develop stuff together, you bring feedback from the market to the developers. There is a community. And then you are count because you are on one person in a large family and everybody talk to each other. So that's so important from the company, right? We share ethics, we share workflow, we share customer feedback. In a big company, you lose. You are one person on tons and you can nothing. You have to do your task. You can go even outside of your limit because that is what you do. For something you have to go here, for something you have to go there. And you waste time just doing this one. And then you are nobody. And that is also from the, job perspective, it's a completely different experience. I mean, I'm more for a smaller company, but many people they feel more comfortable with a big one because a big one, they have a lot of gadget and investment. They don't, it's easier to get money out of those. They do a lot of investment, but again, you look at your personal experience life, you may choose one or the other. Again, it's very personal. And for me, I've been working in both companies, right? And then I realized that I went back to the smaller one. I prefer,
I would say that is not only personal, but that you touch something that is really a topic nowadays, because there are a lot of research related to disengagement, to burnout. Last week was released also the latest DORA research related exactly to apply AI in software development. And what finally is emerging from multiple point of view, for multiple studies, from multiple voices, is that job satisfaction is a key component of organizational performance. So what you just said also is echoing another aspect that finally start to become a nowadays standard de facto, that has to be the customer centricity. So company needs to be customer-centric, not only selling products and getting revenue and getting good shares in the NASDAQ or in the Fortune 500, but they need to create this feeling that the customer is somebody, is not a number into their ledger that provides a subscription every month. The customer needs to have a voice, has to be heard, has to be able to feel the product like, I love it. And if you purchase a product from the shelf, this feeling seems to be not possible to achieve. So the customization that you do and the family mood, let's call it this way, are indeed two of the main components that are the foundation of a good organization. And so here, probably we start to highlight why speech is capable to compete against these giants. But we know the giants, they have a lot of technology. And so I believe that speech, at the same time, is exceeding and excelling against the competitors because you have a way of creating your models, your software, that is above average. And when we were discussing, you told me something that was really intriguing, that your CIO is still developing and is still trying to create your own models to train the engine. That is, for me, is mind-blowing because the typical CIO that I'm talking with, they are so far from coding that the last time that they have coded was still the Commodore 64. So something clearly in speech is different. Am I wrong?
Yes. No, yes, you're completely right. So actually, you touched two important points for me. One point is, a customer, centric customer-centric politics, right? That we always put the customer center. But for me, the customer, as a manager, the customer is also the employees. Because if the employees are happy, are content, they also work with customer. They transmit that kind of passion. I mean, the best employees are always the people that are able to carry the happiness outside towards the customer. So the customer happiness is not only because they got nice solutions, but also because they got the right content. They got somebody to talk to transmit passion, motivations. It's like working with them. And that is important. You cannot get a customer satisfaction if your employees are not satisfied. And that is one important topic. And many companies just forget, they believe only that the people in front of the customer should be the one happy, but not the other one in back. But in the back, the developers, they're happy because they know that whatever they do, the customer will appreciate. And then they work in that direction, not just because they got salary. And this kind of community where salespeople, developer people talk together, in Italy, I bring my developers, I bring my professional service in front of the customer. So the customer see the entire team, not just the CEO or the sales director or everybody else. You see all the chain. And there is a connection at all levels. And that's make also a big difference because the customer feels supported not only by the salesperson who can tell whatever, but also by, the technician, the one that will be actually deploying, the one who will be taking care of post-late sale, and so on and so forth. So that is key. Another topic you said, technology. Yeah, that's definitely is very important. As you know, big company, they are, and I used to work on big companies. There are two ways actually to build products, right? You can build on your own, right? Or you can acquire company they already have.
Yep.
So there is also two ways, major ways of doing that. And when you acquire a company, right, you do for two reasons. Either because you want to acquire a product stack you need to complement your own solution, or because you want to get old of that company customers, or both of them, which is ideal situation. I get a new product, a new customer, right? So this is the reason. Big company typically do that one to speed up. If they do that way, definitely it's a quicker way to incorporate additional products. The main issues I found in my company I used to work with, the large company, is that when you acquire, there is an integration process which is not as smooth as used to be because companies have developed products in a different way. Then you try to integrate products coming from different companies, it doesn't always work smoothly. And that is also a main problem because at the end of the day, I remember a company I used to work with had the virtual assistant. I have one for mobile and the one for the web. And they were completely different products because coming from different products, from different designer or developers or company. And the customer was just, we talk about omni-channel. So you got the same experience regardless of the channel you interact with. But if you have two different kind of products, the experience is unlikely the same. And that is one of the problems, right? So the different speeches, we develop our product ourselves. We do not only, the product is not only the developer who does the product. That is also a mistake. The product should be developed based on the market request, based on the customer request, and based on what we think because we have skilled people as, our CIO, our innovation team. They already look ahead. They will always say, guys, the world is going this way, right? The customer feedback is this one. Maybe we should try to add an additional model. Maybe we should try to add a different product or an additional product. So there is these connections always, which makes a difference, because again, we listen to customer needs. So we develop something that the market wants, the customer wants, not just because the marketing team is telling us, guys, go this way. Now everybody's going to, now we see in China, the robots are running, they're competing, they are.
Yep.
Just because I want to be I want to be the best in them, without even thinking, what shall I do with that one first, right? So we start with, okay, what is the market asking now? What would be nice for that customer to have in 2 years? And then we see different customers, different area, different region. We talk to between the teams, and we say, okay, this is possible to develop. This is not possible. This is missing technology. This we have to wait here. This we can incorporate this one. And that's all this kind of discussion. And going back to the CIO point, I mean, this year our CEO is one of the founder, but he's also a person who has been developing for the company products that the company sells. So that's a person who doesn't want just to say, okay, it's a cool idea, just develop it. No, cool idea, try it out. So he builds prototype, and then he gives to internal team, test it out. Do you think it's good? And then we bring to the board meeting, and he say, guys, or to the advisory board, and we say, guys, what do you think about this? Do you hear anything from market that be possible? And then we go and test it out with customers. And then once we see the feedback, wow, this is actually really good idea, then we go back and we move from a prototype to the full, production. Means develop a stable product and not just a prototype. And that's we do all this, back, because again, as you know, as engineers, we have to go step by step. It's not like we create great products and then the market say, well, who wants this? Maybe, I think why the business developer didn't realize the customer wants something different. And then you just waste time and money, which a big company can do. I mean, big company, they're investing a lot of money, and most of the money will go into failures, into projects that don't bring any value. But it's enough one. It's the same with the pharma company. It's enough for you to do once, a medicine or a drug will cover the cost of so many failures within the company because I just tried. But
Yep.
That is kind of different kind of process, because you try something, you have a target, which is a sick or illness to cure, and then you try to go towards that, try to experiment. There is no fundament. You try, and then of course there's a lot of attempt to fail. In our world, it's the same with the artificial intelligence. You try, but again, you should try to listen first to customer needs, market needs, before just getting crazy with idea, which are fine. I mean, as engineer, I used to develop stuff. You develop what you like. You feel like, oh, it's cool, it's nice, I did this one. But then this is completely different from what the customer needs. So you have to make sure that whatever you do, nice or nice, happy or happy you are, is actually reflect what the market is or customer is looking for. Because at the end of the day, the customer is paying for your development. So you have to be aligned. And that's many companies that don't typically do, right? Or what they do to run, they develop products, they claim them those products, and a big company they do, because now there's a huge competition to offer end-to-end solution. And the company is an end-to-end solution. I miss this piece. Okay, acquire a company or to develop whatever I put in my, in my portfolio. And then you go with customer, and the customer try that technology and it's not working. And they say, why it's not working? Simply because it's a company developing something which is out of their main focus, but they have to do because otherwise they're not competitive end-to-end to the market. One point. The other point, because they have to deliver. Because somebody on the top say, tomorrow is a delivery. You can just don't have time to develop more, deliver. And then if it doesn't work, we promise the customer it's an upgrade in 3 months and we keep on working. We don't lose the customer. That's the kind of situation where many companies do. And for me, I try to be always very honest with my customers. I say, guys, this is a possible, but it requires, this year. And by the way, even though I do develop deliver to you, it doesn't resolve your problem, because your problem is resolvable by something we already have. That's maybe what the future. We work together on that. Don't worry. But I'm not saying, I give you generative AI for problems which generative AI is not needed. Why you want to burn money and do something and get also risk hallucination? Why iterate for that specific problem? You don't need it. So that is part of the consultants. We do regular customer, even though it is our interest. Sometimes I go to a customer and say, I like it. Idea's nice. It's cool. I can get a lot of renewal to the idea, but I say, you don't need it. Just wait. So I go even against my interest because I want to make sure that the customer understands I'm not doing for him, even though I'm sacrificing my business, because I look at the long-term relationship. How many of these big companies that do that?
I guess you have opened the Pandora's box. Because looking with all the investors, with all the giant corporations that I work with, if there is something that you have just described that you are doing in a completely different way, is your idea of customer centricity. When you say that you bring to the customer also not only the marketing, but especially the developers, this is exactly what a giant corporation, they are not doing at all. And this is one of the foundational practices, technical practices of extreme programming, where in extreme programming, indeed, there is not the concept of product owner. It's the market, it's the customer itself that is telling you, hey, buddy, I have this problem and I need this solution and we build it together. And the customer is putting connection directly with the developers. In the big corporation, you have processes, hierarchy, roles, big brands that go with their executive team or their chief product owner to discuss about a need. But this need never comes to the fruition because it's stopped in the process with the wireless phone dysfunction. And so what you just said is indeed one of the traits that is creating a performing or even elite performing organization. And if you don't have it, you start running with a limping leg. And a lot of organizations, they don't understand it. And you were talking also about corporation. A big corporation, differently from a mid-sized company, they went through so many rounds of funding that to take a decision that is avoiding processes to make it leaner is almost impossible because there are so many voices in the boardroom and so many layers of management to organize and manage the company and its dysfunctional behavior that is unbelievable. And here, I guess, we have touched the word that I love the most, behavior. Because from the latest research, it's clear that there are specific behaviors that are driving elite performance. And so I'm eager to understand with you, which are, in your opinion, the behavior in speech that are creating the three pillars of elite organization. So customer centricity, human-centric organization when employees are more than numbers, are family members, are shareholders in a lot of these organizations, and technical excellence. What do you think is the secret behavioral recipe that is creating the environment in speech to being able to destroy Goliath?
So I think everybody repeats in many talks there is different kind of recipes. I would say, from my perspective, the fact that all the CEO of the company, global CEO of the company, is involved in daily business, is always committed. Everybody's committed in the company. Everybody's involved at different level. Everybody's committed. I think that is important. Again, when you go to a family, it's not more like a patriarchal family where somebody decides everybody has to follow. In a company, there is a commitment from the top. There is a decision. Of course, the CEO will make a decision finally, but there is open discussion. People are involved. People are involved in the decision. There is no silos. And that is a key value here. There is no silos. Everybody collaborating with each other. Everybody's committed. Everybody is motivated. And the SEO itself, it's also SEO, it does every type of job. It makes the calls, it tries to understand, it tries to make questions. It's involved. Everybody's involved. And I think it's the value because everybody is right to discuss, as you say. And also the fact that, as I mentioned early on, all the 5 founders of the company, they are involved in the company. It's not just, putting money, but they're involved in the company. I think that's key value. Right? Instead of many companies that got money from venture capital, that get money from here and there, the people give money, they have a different objective sometimes from the people who drive the company. And that is also a big issue because, I remember I used to work in an American company in the US, And then sometimes, I mean, there was a kind of big investor. I say, well, I want my shares to grow X% by whatever, next few days. And then the company decided just to fire 200 people just on the spot, because it was the only way to, to get that for the investors against companies' interest. Because at the end of the day, we're good people. We're not just fire people which are inefficient, people that are, that are anyhow to fire at some point. They fire good people. Those people that go somewhere else, and then, when they are needed again, they're not willing to come back because they got that kind of experience which nobody wants to repeat, right? When you see that one, again, because there is a disalignment between who puts the money, who runs the company, and who does actually work for this, there's a big problem. Spitch has been, always working money. Of course, we raise money, private investors. There is kind of people involved in the company as the founders. So I think there is a full commitment from every level of the company to do the best to succeed, right? And that I think is important. Commitment, engagement, openness, no silos. These are all kind of points which make kind of company like Spitch an excellent. I mean, of course, good product. There should be flexibility. Everything we discuss, but should be also a company that say it can actually drive decision. It can listen and drive. It has to be engaged, and that is very important, because otherwise, you can get maybe human centricity, maybe you can get customer centricity, maybe you don't get the same product level. And that because maybe a part of the company is not running in the same direction, but is doing something else. So you get some discrepancy in the company. So we have, kind of product committee regularly. We have a customer success committee regularly. We have a sales review, weekly. So there is a lot of connection. I talk to my team every day. So that is a kind of being, a foot into the, on the ground, and you want to make sure that you are part of the process, not just you are there and somebody's doing something else. Being a manager in a smaller company is also somebody who rolls up their sleeves and work as everybody else. It does a job. It's not his job. Don't care. Everybody in my team rolls up their sleeves and helps the other one, even though it's not his task. And that's just nice, because it means that the people, they support each other. And the people in this one. And also, when you go back to the point, how you get the skilled people into the company. It's not only because they're happy to work with us, they're happy to, to see customer happy, but also people come into organization, they're always together with somebody else to learn beginning, to grow part of the company, not just left there, okay, read this book, I just do this one. And then when you are ready, you can. No, we put that already in activity, together with somebody else, coached by somebody else. And then they learn, they feel part of the organization. They feel like I'm learning because I have somebody beside me, which is actually teaching me. And I like that person. There is a chemistry. And that is important. So for me also, when I do interview for new people, it's not only the skills. I don't check only how many years they've done here, what kind of experience. This is important. But also check the chemistry. Would that person be a good fit for our organization? Because when you have an organization of 1 million of people or 10,000 people,
this is an amazing aspect.
Different person doesn't damage a company, right? If in my team in Italy, if I have 10 people in my team and 2 of them are causing troubles, all the team will suffer out of it. And that is the kind of key. That's why for me it's also important to shoot the people, not only the hard skill, which are key for the job, but soft skills are also an add-on, which is not just either or. It has to be both. And that is kind of fundamental for me. Otherwise, in a medium company, few people can cause troubles, and troubles will grow and grow. And then at the end of the day, will damage the company, not only reputation, but the spirit of the company, the motivation of the company, but also will reflect towards customers. They say everything is linked. Somebody is wrong. If I have somebody in my team who is actually negative, and then it goes to a customer, we'll transmit that negativity to a customer. And the customer say, what's wrong there, right? And they say, why this company, why this person is telling me something? What's happening, right? So that's the key for me. So soft skill is part of the curriculum of a person. The rest, hard skill, if you have the building blocks, you can learn. Soft skills, it should come with you. I mean, you cannot just learn how to be nice with customers while you want to be talking. I can put somebody who never talk in a public, and say, okay, now you did the speech. I mean, that person will be frightened, out of comfort zone.
Probably even with a panic attack. But you touch 2 points that I would love to explore further. Because in one is the concept of an ethic organization. Because the example that you started is an example that I love. As a behavioral engineer enthusiast, I've done a lot of studies related to how to lead a negotiation, how to do ethical coaching, how to do coaching driven by neuroscience. And there is one framework that I love, and is the framework from Robert Cialdini, that is the ethical persuasion. I love it because it's applying science, engineering approach to the art of communication and negotiation. The art of persuading people so that you're able to change their behaviors from dysfunctional to functional, or to help them to understand that this direction is better than the other. There is a research inside the gigantic research of Cialdini that is related to which are the consequences of unethical business. And what you just described, that an investor is coming and telling the board, hey, I need to buy out so that my stock is rise X%, and then the organization go in panic mode, and then they lay off people, is something that is common nowadays, unfortunately, because there are a lot of money invested in AI. And a lot of organizations, what they don't realize is that these kind of behaviors that are unethical, because you put people on the street without a job in a moment where the market is really tough, are creating an environment where unethics is spreading like a virus, is a cancer. And what you have just described is exactly the opposite. So if I have to put a summary of what you just described as the key behavior of a successful organization that is able to compete against giants, is being ethical. Not only human-centric, but the behavior of these humans inside the organization has to be ethical. Can it summarize your mindset, your philosophy and speech?
Yes, I mean, you touched the key points for me. I think is something which every human should have, right? Regardless of the job he does, regardless of the situation where he lives, right? Unfortunately, the world is driven by many unethical, managers or people, simply because money is money and everybody wants to make money. They don't care if it's done ethically or unethically. But this is one point. The other point, of course, everybody works for money. Nobody's like it. We have to be like simply, okay, everybody's ethical. We stay at home, we do just research, right? We still have to sell, right? We have to do it, but you can sell ethically. You can simply tell, the truth. Why you want to add something and sooner or later will come up anyhow? Why you want to try to sell a product which it doesn't work? I mean, just give an example, right? So when it comes to deliver products, we are working on a product for a specific customer in Italy now. When you develop a product internally and then you want to go, to the customer, you want to be sure that the product works, because the first time the customer will test is key. So you want to make sure you don't bring something to market when you want to. So what you do more tests. You do tests from different people, because you want to make sure that, maybe my way of testing is different from the way of somebody else testing. So we want to try to say all the angles of testing a product solution before it goes to the customer, just to make sure that we give a different view of that, functionality of the product. But again, going back to ethics, I think it's important because ethics builds respect. When you build respect, you build a long-term relationship. And that is also key, because a company has to be, if you have a churn rate, high churn rate of the company, it's a very bad sign. That means that the company is not the right place to work with, because not just because you get the bonus and you get the welfare. No, simply because if you stay in a company for a short time, you change. That means the company was not good for you. And if you look at people in our organization, I know people, been here 8 years in the company now. So I know people that have been there for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. Then somebody definitely will change. There is normal, there is some churn, but it's it's not like, I lost, people in a year, I lost 5, 6, 7 people, lost 10% of my workforce. I mean, something's wrong, right? So this is also important. Typically what I do as a manager, for example, I do a one-to-one call with my team, on a quarterly basis. I just try to understand how it's going, what is, if there's any issues, anything they want to address, if I can support anything. I think that's part of the process because I want to make sure that every single person in my team and the other manager will do the same, feel okay. They feel if there is a problem, bring it up, right? If there is any discuss, don't just keep it inside and then sooner or later will explode the damage. So this is one point. The other point is always try to be sure that everybody works in the same way. So give an example of ethics again. If my team goes, I do example Italy, but this applies to the company, right? If my team goes to the customer, right? We have to be one team, one single voice. We have to be sure that every communication to the customer is aligned. If something is not aligned, I mean, I have a problem as a manager because it means that somebody's, is pushing the customer away from there, somebody's pushing towards. We have to make sure the customer should be always tell the truth. Now, this is all the question because if you don't tell the customer the truth, maybe you are also not telling me the truth. Or me, you are not telling your partner the truth. I think ethics is important because at the end of the day, customers stay with us. It's the same as the employees stay in Spitch for a long time because they believe in the company, they find an environment, working environment, which is great. The same, the customers stay with us for years because they know that we are there for them. We know that we help them to go through the innovation process. We guide them. We know that if there is any need, they can talk to us and they stay with us for years because for the same reason, because they trust us. To build the trust, it takes a long time and ethics is part of this process. But if you do something wrong, you lose that trust, it's gone. It's too late. I mean, you can't recover.
Yep.
You can't recover the same. You can't go back at the square one. You just have to manage the different perception there. But that is, I think, it's everything, again, reflected there. You have to be able to tell a customer, this, what you need to do is not feasible with the current technology. Or you don't need to use that technology for addressing your problem because there is something else which is even cheaper, maybe even easier to do it. You have to be honest because if you do that, when the customer will understand, maybe, in the beginning will be like, hey, I want to use agentic, I want to use this one because, hey, everybody's using it, and you try to turn him down. Maybe the customer will be at the end, it will be like, why this guy, they don't turn me down? Why this guy, maybe they don't want to give a product? Maybe they don't have the product. Maybe it's not good enough. But then they realize that, oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't need that one, right? And sometimes this is key. I'll give also another example here. Many of these company, big company, typically they always try to anticipate the market needs, right? They develop something and they go and they sell it because being first in the market is easier. You open the door, you get customers, you are the first, I don't know, whatever it is, a Copilot, for example, just a word everybody knows, Copilot. We go there and I sell a Copilot. In the past, I experienced that one. You sell something which is not ready, but you do because you have to be first in the market. Because if you wait 1 month more, somebody else will enter, you lose the momentum.
Yep.
And then you go to a customer, and the customer, you tell, of course, you have to convince the customer, yeah, it's a great revolution, everybody, you are the first one having, it's great, blah, blah, whatever it is. You go there, the customer gets bad experience. What happened? The customer is investing millions of euro, dollars, goes there, I'm not happy there. Maybe year afterward, 2 years, I would have a problem. And I go there and then just telling, I can use this one. And they say, you know what? I trust, I don't trust this technology because 2 years I spent $1 million here on this technology. It didn't work. And now what is my role? I try to tell a customer it didn't work because you bought something. I cannot tell a customer you made a mistake. You have to tell that time the technology was not ready. Right? Who sold that technology? It's not ready. It was not ready. It doesn't mean that it's not ready now. And I always try to say, guys, start always slow. Don't invest. Try to do step by step. You want to do a pilot, do a pilot. Do a small phase of the project. I always count a pilot for me is the first phase of a project. Do that one. Get the result. And then you grow. Because you have to learn. There is also a cultural problem in the world. Many people, they want to adopt artificial intelligence. There is no cultural readiness for many of these solutions.
Bingo.
And they want still to implement it.
You touched the point that I was eager to arrive because What you just described is amazing, is how ethical business and human-centric organization, when they are obsessed of customer satisfaction, they can get the data that a normal corporation they cannot get from the field. And then bringing that in the top of the company with a system like our research is highlighting, so behavioral OKRs, to drive the ethics in the organization, and it's the main driver. But then we face the customer and the market. And a lot of organizations, what they don't realize is what you just said. Is my organization ready for jumping on this new technology? You name Copilot. We can name Cloud Coder, Windsurf, Cursor, whatsoever. So this code assistant. The question that I've raised to a lot of organizations that are asking to, hey guys, please come and fix the mess we have created with this agentic AI, is simple. Are your fellas ready to code in the AI era? And what we have discovered is that the companies that are indeed working in the proper way, so with technical practices in place, with the ability, as you said, when you do hiring, that is something that we will deep dive in a few seconds, to hire somebody and then being able to have him in a mentorship and coaching program that is upskilling them to the standards of the organization. They don't have it. All these giants, all these big companies that are creating a lot of products for AI coding, they then sell the products, maybe ethically, but the customer is not ready to use it because the people, they are not capable to use these products in the right way. They don't have the discipline. And so, echoing on this, I would love to understand how you instead in Spitch are able to do what for me is the biggest problem on software industry. That is the gap between the academic journey that a student does until getting the bachelor degree, and then the leap that they have to do in order to jump on the real market. Because from what we observe, these students, they are not ready. Or am I wrong?
Well, there is always a gap between, I would say, studies or universities and the real world, right? For many reasons. So because when you always, I study engineering, right? So for me, you get a lot of notions, a lot of information, a lot, right? So university is not bad itself. Question is that there should be joint effort between university industry, as in some countries they do, where a student is put in a company to actually work and get her hands dirty with something real, not something hypothetical you can study university. And typically also the course I loved most in the university was the course from professors who always encouraged that kind of experience. Because that's when you face reality. Okay, I do a coding for what? What is the purpose of doing coding? For what I develop this one? Just to test that the theory is right? Of course. But is needed? What is needed? How should I actually do it? What is the process, real process? What I'm going to do when I will be working? Do I have the same time as I do as a university? Do I have time to experiment everything? There is a lot of questions. The best to address this question is to do an activity, a practice during your study period. And that is key for me. That is very key because it's kind of, otherwise you end up, you finish university, you are going into the first job, you have to learn from scratch. And then what I say is always, okay, what I've left from university, well, a lot of good experience, but also what helped me is to have the building blocks to learn later. And that's definitely university does. The job is done, giving the building blocks that specific faculty on the field direction you want to study, that's you give. But then there is a gap. Your building blocks, you have to make sure the building block you can actually plug in, apply when you come to work. So now what we try to do, of course, we try, but this applies not only to, to new, to students just out of university, applies to everybody. If also a person on the 40s, it changes activity, moves from one type of company to another type of company, right? Company are different. Products
Yes.
are different. Even a company philosophy may be different. What you do, you have to start from scratch, but you have a building blocks, and then you are coached and you learn in practice. You just need the building blocks to do this kind of, transfer know-how. So that is what you do. But again, going back, university should be closer to the, real company, as in some countries they do. And I think those countries, you see the results. You see the results. You see
Yes.
that even the first job, you get higher salary than not in other countries, simply because you are more active, you are more ready to work. There is no company doesn't have to invest months to make you up running just because you have gaps. And that justify even lower salary, because sometimes it's kind of, but you're new, to give a lower salary. There's few that use you just because you are kind of still naive, right? Ready with a lot of background, but no practical experience. In other countries, they do this. They already touch, with a real company. They know the company. Maybe it's also the first company they start working with after university. So there is kind of different process, gives better salary, more satisfaction. But maybe you also work in a company you don't like it, then you can go somewhere else. So there is this. So that one side there is this kind of gap. It should be kind of reduced. One side, as something we definitely company as university can definitely help doing it. I'll just give you also an example within our organization. We have annotators and we have analysts. Okay, apparently two similar names. Annotator basically had to annotate, to listen to calls, you annotate that call. Analyst has to extract information, which are business relevant information. So it's a step ahead. But sometimes we get like students, they work with us as kind of freelancer for do annotation job because they want to just keep some money for support the university study. But we also have experienced this annotator has become later as an employee of the company because he went through that process and it was already close to our business. And then the step to do from annotator to analyst was already prepared. The way was there. So that was a way where we helped basically somebody out of university, start doing something with us, see first if it was the chemistry, as I mentioned, it was the right person for us. It was performant. It was annotation job that everybody can do basically, but it was kind of clear doing that. And then if you have that kind of vision to move to another type of role, which is the analyst. The analyst role is key in organization because analyst is the one who has to discuss with customer which business policy how to implement into technology to make sure that there is a match from the business perspective. So that kind of passage has been done by our company, but again, that should be done even before finishing university, right? If
And
it's
this
my
is
personal deal.
this is an amazing point because we have just described. So from the color of my beard, you can clearly understand that I'm 50 plus. And so we came from a different century, let's say. And for us,
and then I can deny.
For us, our academic journey was in a timeline where at 14th in our countries, we were able to go to work. We were starting the high school, and the professor, the teacher at the high school, they were sending us at 14 years old during the summer to work to get practical experience, not only academic theory experience. So this for me happened since I was 14 until I complete my engineering master degree. And so every summer I was going in construction site to get practical experience and let's see, craftsmanship, okay, as we can call in English, not only academic. But then when I was at university, they sent me at the interim to cooperate with organizations that they were practicing the same technical excellence that we were studying at university. Then when I did the thesis, I went to an institute of research to do my thesis in robotic and telco. And after it, I worked with this organization until I was able to find a proper job. So when I arrived to the proper job, I was so prepared to work that for me it was almost zero shock to start to work. And we were lucky because we grew up in this kind of economical and welfare context. The kids nowadays, in a lot of countries, they cannot do it anymore. And the organization, they have a lot of strict regulations that they cannot do it anymore at interim as we were doing in the old days. So we have a new problem. The gap is still there, but how to fill this gap when you have hired a guy in your organization? Because from what I understood as a trainer of judo and jiu-jitsu, the best way is to replicate the ancient art of teaching martial art, where you have a sensei or a master or somebody that, let's say, is an expert in the domain that is coaching, tutoring, mentoring, shadowing people in your organization with a structured format. And so the people, students in your organization, juniors, they can grow in the right direction, creating the right chemistry with their sensei. This is the format that we practice in the Software Craftsmanship Dojo and all the dojos that we do in our consultancies model. Is something that you do in Spitch as well? Is the coaching that you are referring something really close to this model?
Yeah, it's basically it's not far away from that model, because at the end, as I mentioned before, we always try to support the team in growing, right? And sometimes what's interesting as well, maybe I may add also here, I see people that also change roles in the company, because sometimes you start somewhere and then you discuss, you see that person is more interested in, or maybe more, will bring more value covering a different role. So this is also the way of, company should not be static at one point. You have possibility to move around within the company, do different stuff. That's also important and motivation for the people like join a company. But also because you being part of a team, there's a lot of teamwork, right, in Spitch. Teamwork means that there is always somebody more expert, somebody less expert. But the idea is always to support the one with less experience to grow, because they will be most likely younger than us, but they have potential to drive the company when, we decide to do, to retire or to do something else. So we have to build also, I say, the new generation, new working generation within the organization, because this is also a task on, executive team to grow the team, to make them independent. I'll give an example. Another example, I think, which is important, I think, from the working perspective, delegation. There is always, who is the right manager, right? There are a lot of examples of manager successful in every case. I mean, maybe a manager can be, successful even though it's kind of not easy to work with. A manager can be successful if he's more or less ethic. Success is not linked to the way you do management, let's say, right? But for me, if I look at me personally, always when I do coaching, right, and I do in a way that also I try to give responsibility, accountability to the person, right? It's not just because I do coaching, but I say you have to take over responsibility over time. Because when you do it and I feel you're ready, I delegate. And that is also another key aspect I think, culturally speaking, in an organization. For example, you can delegate tasks to people. I don't need to be present in a customer meeting. One, I know that my team is attending a customer meeting and they are well prepared to do the best. So I can delegate. I don't need to be there. And that is also important. You have to delegate the people, form the people, coach the people, give them accountability and delegate them so they can actually, do themselves, learn also by mistakes, by to do it, not just getting forever. So there should be a process. And when it's time to move from one step to a step of the process, depending on the person. But I think this is key. The manager, I feel a failure if I don't succeed in doing with my team or, the organization, because I think that's key to do that. You have to give responsibility, accountability. What happens today, unfortunately, many people, they don't want to take responsibility. And that is also a difference when I see between a large company, big company. If you're in a large company, I mean, you try to do your job more, that's all. That's my job, I'm done. You see that whatever it is more difficult. You stay within your comfort zone, you stay there. You don't want to risk, because anyhow, it's big organization. Nobody will notice you. Maybe for the peace of mind, why you want to risk? Why you want to risk contradicting your manager? Why would you do it? I mean, you risk being fired. In the US, if you contract it, you may not be, that happy, right? The feedback. For me, the situation is different. I want to hear, please contradict me. Just, do that. Because I think also for me to learn, it's not just by coaching, but also I learn every day talking to different people, the way they react, the way they bring back to me. I think that is important, accountability. And then you have to reach, because you have to, you feel confident to do that step, because you know that you are part of the group, you know you're supported, you know you're learning, you know they give you time, but also you know that it's giving accountability to you. So at some point you roll up the sleeve, even though you make mistake, you do yourself, because that is the beauty. Otherwise you don't complete your learning process. You learn theoretically, but then you have to be alone. Sometimes you have to go alone to the customer, just do yourself, because you have to be also alone to, to judge yourself and to see, wow, I got it right. I feel now I do that extra mile. I want to do, I was scared to. I didn't have enough competence, skill set, or courage, whatever it is. I think that is a key for forming also young people, especially young people going to, the professional activities. And that is from that perspective. And of course, if you work as a Spitch, because Spitch is also a great company, they have great technology, the great stuff. If you go and work with a company like Spitch, you feel also that, guys, I'm on the wave here. I do the nicest thing. Everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. Everybody, this one. I want to work in a company which is fast moving and learning. This is also important. Work for us, they learn. I give you an example, personal example. I was coming back from the US, Europe. And I was already working, in a company doing artificial intelligence. And I was in Europe, and then I got interview with Spitch at that time, with the CEO of Spitch, and then it was like, wow. And I was afraid of doing the same stuff I used to do it. And I say, maybe US already more advanced than Europe. Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to a company do the same stuff, and maybe a step behind the one already did that you are. What will be a professional step for me as a learning curve? And then I realized, you know what? I trust the CEO. I have a good feeling, right? Gut feeling. And I started the company. And I realized the company, yes, in the beginning was behind my building block. I was kind of more, I did know a lot more stuff. But then the technology is changing so fast. So within a few months, there were new stuff all the time. So basically, I joined the company with the concern of being stuck on something I already know. But actually, it was so fast moving and growing. It was kind of environment, nice environment, and it was challenging and doing. So I kept on learning, because for me, I'm a person. I cannot just sit here and say, okay, now I reach my level. I just keep quiet. I just administrate, right? Nothing. I want to keep on learning, even though I'm my position. So, and that is important, because company keep developing products themselves, being testing product, making customer happy. I think that is satisfaction for everybody, including, people from different levels, because everybody contributes to success. And I think it's important. So again, great technology as Spitch, great product. The customer love our products, love our people, and that makes success of the company. And again,
I
we
guess
cover everything. If the customer wants something else, we do for you. Don't worry. We do for you because it's important for us.
I guess on human side, you have touched the tupla that is describing the archetype of people that are combining a great team. That is the greatness to grow, because at the end, if you don't want to grow, you are stuck, and so you will not evolve, and you cannot do what the technology will bring as the next challenge. And then the ability to get accountable. So the ability for an organization to delegate to their people. And then the knowledge, the awareness that you know how to work because somebody has certified with you with coaching, mentorship, with a dojo program, or whatever is in place in an organization, to let you understand that this is the way of working in a professional manner. And this, from all the stuff, all the research that we have done, and all the latest research that are coming up nowadays related to AI and the adoption of AI, seems to be the tupla that every organization needs at human level to create a compound of employees that are equipped for the future. That the future is clearly AI driven nowadays. And so the last question that I have for you, looking at the time that is moving too fast, is in your experience selling products that are leveraging AI, especially after the revolution of AI as a chat with large language model, do you see that the customer out there in the world, they are ready for this revolution?
I'll say some part of the organization, the customer, they want to move forward, right? But they are not ready from the organizational standpoint, right? So we see many customers have still silos. Still, there is no full commitment from top level. And these customers, they want to do something, but they are kind of limited by internal constraints, okay? But we do also have customers where the management is kind of innovative looking. They want to experiment stuff. And these customers, they embrace technology, but again, the technology they do it wisely. That means step by step. Sometimes we use LLM for sentiment analysis, for example, because this is the best kind of technology you have for sentiment analysis to check the sentiment of customers or an operator in a conversation between the two of them. We try to extract information based on sentiment analysis built on LLM, on a large language model. Other solutions, you don't need language. So what we always we are looking for now what we call a collaborative AI. So that is also a concept that is going, lately more that actually explain, because there's a lot of concerns on one side regarding artificial intelligence. There's a lot of desire to implement it. There is a lot of concerns, right, on one side. And this kind of, balancing is, okay, I use AI because everybody's moving there because it will help me here without knowing exactly how, because there's a lack of knowledge about here, how to use it here. But at the same time, there is a lot of step, structurally, organizationally, human within the customer to be made, especially the customer is not small. This is one step to be done anyhow. But the other side, there is also a lot of ethics issues, right? With the artificial intelligence, they are getting hallucination, there is bias, a lot of this is how you actually can manage this, right? So you try to find a trade-off, right? A trade-off where what we call, what is going to be, and when we discuss with this, about the CIO before, right? A collaborative AI where AI agent, basically an AI agent and a human agent, they work together. They work together, one using the best of each other. So the interaction can be done by a human person, but the artificial intelligence does all the job, and it does much quicker, much fine, but it's supervised. So at the end of the day, I'm sure there is no bias, there is no hallucination or anything else, but it does a job that artificial intelligence LM do greatly, but there is a human person there. So we do this kind of collaborative AI where basically human knowledge and expertise is joined with the AI knowledge expertise to give the best of it. And they do in a way that is transparent to the user. We're always talking about giving power to AI. I don't know if you read, I read the articles 2 days ago regarding Bulgaria. It was Albania. They put actually ministry, which is an AI minister. So somebody actually was make sure that there is no corruption. And there was like a lot of concern. If you read the article, it was like, okay, we give the power to AI, who control that one? I'm not sure it's not biased. I'm not sure who developed that program is actually a corrupted person is trying to maybe be biased on that perspective. So there's a lot of concern there. And then at the end of the day, it was like, okay, guys, but if it's control, it does the job of review, analysis, and then bring up points. It's the same I do, with our technology. I say, guys, we do analysis. We analyze everything is there. And then only when the artificial intelligence finds critical stuff, let the human person review that. Let the human person give the final decision. But again, there is a lot of this kind of experiment. We have to make sure that we guide that kind of evolution. We guide and we make sure that the customer is to say, guys, I know that you are still have to make steps within your organization. No problem. Step by step. We bring you LM. LM, maybe we bring initially for sentiment time. Maybe we bring it for something else. But do gradually for two reasons. One reason is that even though I do implement and everything works fine, but who will be the end user of that technology? Will be not you as a customer, will be your end user, your customers. Who will tell me that your customers are ready to use that technology you implement? Maybe the organization is ready. Maybe I develop a very beautiful agentic AI to a customer. Customer happy. They test the company is great. It's one of the unicorn, right? Because there are not many, right? They are company which is well structured, well organized, committed, no silos, you can count on your hands, right? On your fingers. Even though you go there, you do that great agentic AI platform installed there, everything works fine. Then you go to open up to the end customer. End customer, they are maybe citizens, maybe they're just normal people, maybe they're different digital awareness. That person may probably find it useful or not useful. So it's not only the company you sell the product to, but also you have to put in mind the company has this solution to that company. A company will use that to offer service to their customers. The final use of the technology are their customers. So you have to put myself and my customer partners, head into the situation. It's not for you, it's for your customers. So I help you out to say, guys, you don't need to do that. We did a nice project in Italy with the public administration. We did, we do just natural language. We call, right? We call and they say, how can I help you? Easily. You can say whatever, and then you guide and so on and so forth. Then when we went, to the final decision, I say, guys, but if an old person will call and they will hear on the phone, how may I help you? That person, the person doesn't know what to reply. And you end up at a point where the customer is ready, but the person calling the system was like, so we had to guide them. So we had to do in a way that, maybe do the, but no, how can I help you? Maybe if you this one, if you need whatever, I help you out there. So you had to guide because people calling, they are not everybody digital,
native,
mature to do that one.
Yeah,
so the question is, you have to do this one.
You touch an amazing point that is from what is emerging from all these studies, the status quo of the industry. The industry is pushing with this technology, but the people embracing it, they are not ready because it's a cultural shock, it's an emotional shock. Also, what I'm realizing lately is that for a lot of guys, that they are a long history to work in a corporation where using critical thinking is not that safe, because if you are critiquing your management and leadership, you can become easily under peer review because you are underperforming in their opinion of the system. And then you have to work with AI. You don't have the natural tendency to say to AI, hey, buddy, hold on. It seems to me that this is fruit of your hallucination because you are not used to do it with your normal colleagues, your leadership. So the shock that these people on the field they have is an emotional trauma that a lot of organizations, if they don't do what you just suggest, so to move step by step, they will get a lot of burnout and disengagement from their employees. That are the two main reasons why a lot of organizations, despite the technical advancement, they are so stuck into a loop of low performance and low morale. And this discussion, Pier Giorgio, I guess, has highlighted a lot of stuff. We have touched a lot of key ingredients of what makes a great organization capable, like in your case, to be the David versus Goliath. And what to say else? Do you have any other suggestion or a tip that you want to offer to our listener before we close up the shop?
I think probably is one message is don't be afraid, probably Clement, don't be afraid of technology. Don't be afraid of AI in general. We just have to make sure we use it for our need, our purpose, gradually, depending on the maturity of the people, of the company, but also the UN customer. And again, start gradually, grow with it, and use it the best way. Don't just listen to whatever is telling you, we can do whatever, and then you don't need it. Or simply, as you say, you implement it, you don't get a result. Technology, takes time, because it's not just a pure technology, but it's a full process you have to change. It's cultural process. Is so many ingredients in that evolution here. AI is a big part of it. Don't be afraid, use it, but just look what you really need now and start gradually. Because another big value there, I always tell my customers, you use, for example, virtual agents, right? Even the customers say, they are afraid of making a big investment because maybe they are ready or partially ready. And they say, start slowly. And then since you get a return on investment already from the basic use cases, reinvest that whatever return you have, you reinvest, you do a second phase. And then you do a second phase, you get other return on investment. You use that one and you reinvest, you do a third one. And then you may, of course, change, but they're like small steps, like a child does, small step into the world. But when you grow, then you are solid because you did step by step. And you can always change direction whenever you feel like along the path, because in a year and 2 years, there will be other definitely amazinger, functionalities of AI. But just you have to embrace it because it's a process. We here as a company, as I recommend company do it, just guide the customer. Even the customers want to go fast, make sure they realize there's a certain step to be made. Embrace technology wisely. Do it because there is no way around. Many companies say, I don't want AI because whatever. No, I mean, sooner or later, AI will come. Regardless,
Yep.
so if you oppose it or not oppose, AI will come. It will be more and more in every level. But you have to govern it, use it ethically, control it. Again, but use it for what is needed. Just don't use it for useless tasks, which are cool, but not needed for you or for your customers. So focus on in the customer needs first. Try to address what technology is a commodity. At the end of the day, use AI. May use simple chatbot, it may use a very advanced virtual agent. It depends on the case study, it depends on the customer needs. The customer doesn't care if you use one algorithm or the other algorithm. It's important the customer resolve the problem for what technology is implemented for. And I think it's important. So always follow the customer, guide the customer, because many customers have crazy ideas. I mean, many customers want to do, they believe AI can do everything. I can do everything with AI. No, guide the customer. That is what you really need now. Technology, I bring technology. I have great technology, no problem. But just do this way, address this point. For example, just give another example. If you're having a call, you have tons of call coming, right? And you want to do automation. Why you want to start doing automation? Companies, they start automating everything. No, you look, okay, 70% of the call may be a just informative call. 70%. If you do virtual agent there, you do a lot of automation. They're informative calls. You get busy question and answer. You reduce a lot of cost because it's a lot of repetitive informative. Just do that one. You save money. With that money, you go then more advanced service. You go ahead. So do step by step again. Don't be afraid. Govern it and use it. And do this process internally. And don't look at you as a customer, but also as your end user, because that is the key. You have to address a point. Otherwise, you have very beautiful application and nobody's using. And that is the most, for me, sometimes it's critical. I don't want to sell something, then the customer is happy, but he's not using it. Because for me, it's a loss.
Yes.
I want to sell something, you use it, not something is cool for you, but it no meaning, no sense. So let us guide you.
It's a good point here. Yeah, thank you. That's a good point, because if we use it step by step, this is a journey that is not traumatic, because step by step you do the length of the step that you are capable of. And then the return of investment is providing you the safety and the psychological awareness that, okay, the investment was profitable, so let's go to the next step. This is building also what I call AI awareness. And remember, fellas out there is a lot of work to do to make AI ethical. And indeed, we have started to see countries like Italy starting to create the AI Act, where there are regulations that are trying to create boundaries around the legal implication to use AI in the proper ethical or unethical way. So the more we use an AI, and we cannot avoid to escape it, the more we can regulate in the proper manner how AI should be used, so that AI as a technology will be a technology that is harmless. Because technology per se is harmless, and is how we use it that can be harmful. Like the invention of the atom. They've cured my cancer with the chemo, but they've also destroyed cities with the nuclear bomb. How we use technology that makes a lot of difference, and is using technology that we can stop to misuse in harmful way. And what you just described is for me the best suggestion for the listener out there to understand. Don't oppose to it, because if we do it, we will get the people that are abusing it more voice to abuse it even further.
Yes. I think probably I will leave with one question to the audience, Miguel. It's just because I heard this one was an executive dinner with the Politecnico of Milan a week ago. It was interesting. It was in international bank there. And there were a question I wanted to bring here. It's the same question came up during that panel discussion. There was like, okay, guys, you see there are 3 different models, right, in the world, right, regarding AI. The US model, the Chinese model, and the European model, right? They both given this kind of example, right? So in the US, there is so few restrictions in terms of privacy. Europe is very well regulated. China, you know, I mean, there's nothing to tell. You know how it works in China. And then if you focus between US and Europe, they say, well, but you know, guys, Europe is putting a lot of regulation. People and company don't invest because they're not sure what kind of regulation will look like. US, they will go far. So there was a debate, okay, guys, but if you regulate too much in Europe, then we lose the gap, right? There is a gap between the United States will grow. United States will be much more, and will penetrate, as you say, will penetrate our market with their solutions. Because our industry, our companies, European companies, they have been kind of reluctant or limited to develop because of many regulations. So it was kind of bad. So I say, what, you know, and there was a question to the public, I say, like, is the US here, Europe here? Who is the winning model? To what is a right compromise between them? Means don't stop the evolution of AI to the save of the customer or the citizens, so privacy and so on and so forth. But don't put too many, laces to block because somebody else will bring their own technology and we are behind. So that was kind of debate. That was interesting because that's, I think, for the international public. European company, they always complain they have too many regulations. US company, they always have an advantage there. But then we come with the antitrust. In Europe, they put sanctions on this American company because they don't follow the like AI Act, for example. There's a big debate there. I mean, there is no solution. Solution is always, be, as you say, don't, go ahead, but at the same time, be careful here, but don't strangle, let's say, the innovation, putting something, because many people, they put this regulation, maybe they don't have the full view of the stuff. Maybe, as you say, they should be gradually changed or dynamically changed to reflect the real situation rather than just put there is, okay, this is the AI Act. For 5 years, nothing has changed. And maybe in 2 years, you discover that it doesn't fit anymore, right? So that is sort of strange, important stuff we have to realize. Rules are important. They should be dynamically adapted to the changing world, to a changing situation before it will be just a cage rather than a protection to the end user. Because the end user will be, Microsoft admitted in an interview in France, I remember, that they cannot save European data, even though they are in a European source, because they're subject to US, kind of regulation. That means if the US demand those data to be transferred to the United States, Microsoft cannot do anything. And that's scaring for many European people. They say, well, this one side, they would be okay. Maybe for us it's good news because maybe they bet on European company rather than American company. But regardless of that, that's clear the debate, right? This kind of risk of, having your data not controlled, but at the same time, if the regulations are too static and too overwhelming, maybe you are not interested in investing in that technology because whatever investment you make, maybe you cannot deploy because the regulation doesn't allow you to do it. So this is a kind of interesting question, a debate which requires much further discussion, Michele. But I just want to bring it up because many people discuss, feel European people complains about this. European big company complains they don't have the power to compete against the American company. And then somehow they complain on European community because of this AI. Citizens, they feel protected. The company, they don't invest in something risky. There is kind of debate here. They have to find a middle ground because I personally agree there should be a way in the middle where, the innovation is not limited, but, the specific, limitation are clear, understandable, useful.
Yeah. And I guess we return to what we were discussing before with the nuclear atom. So the science per se must go ahead, but the application of the science should be limited. Otherwise, we will get another Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and nobody wants to repeat this kind of humankind mistake. With AI, I feel exactly the same, that we need to use it in order to understand, okay, no, this is not ethical. We have to prohibit it. It is something that we need to forbid. I love that the question was raised in an academic environment, because this showcases again how the academy can turn the culture in the right direction with ethics and without profitability in mind as the first target. Giorgio, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Listener, please smash your reply to Pier Giorgio's question down below in the comment, spread the podcast, and Pier Giorgio, hope to see you soon. I wish you all the best competing against Goliath, and I'm pretty sure that we will talk again in the future. Yes, indeed. Pier Giorgio, thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael, for your time and for the opportunity to talk in the podcast.
It was a pleasure. Yeah, me too. Likewise. Listener, see you next week with another episode where we will smash more deeply the discussion around the DORA model and the latest research about AI and software. Talk to you soon and keep evolving, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, and please remember to subscribe to the Forge of Unicorns to stay up to date with our latest episodes.